Hey everyone, and welcome back to Sip and Talk. I'm Joe.
I'm Sunny.
And we're so glad you could join us for another deep dive.
Yes, hello. We've got another great batch of source material you sent over.
We really do. Always ready.
Great. So we're jumping straight into a couple of text snippets you sent us. Thanks for those, by the way.
Yeah, keep them coming.
We try to sift through everything and figure out, what's the core message in the stuff you wanted us to look at.
And today's topic is...
Yeah.
Well, it's a fascinating one. Kind of counterintuitive, maybe? Toxic positivity.
It really does sound like a contradiction, doesn't it? Like, how can positivity, something we usually think of as good, be toxic?
Exactly. That's the big question that came out of the articles and notes you shared. So thank you for sending those in. You basically asked us, can focusing too much on being positive actually backfire, be harmful?
Yeah, and that's what we're going to unpack. We'll look at how these sources actually define toxic positivity, why it's such a hot topic lately,
right?
What the research says about potential downsides, but also, importantly, what the sources say about the benefits of positive thinking. Because it's not all bad, obviously.
Definitely not. The sources are clear on that. It's about balance.
Exactly. And finally, we'll see what the material suggests about finding that healthier middle ground.
Okay, let's get into it. This idea that something good could have a dark side. Yeah, this is where it gets really interesting. So first things first, based on the materials you sent, how are they actually defining this term toxic positivity? What does it mean?
Well, the common thread in the sources is that it's this excessive, almost relentless focus on maintaining a positive outlook.
Okay, excessive.
Yeah, but the really crucial part, the toxic part, is that it happens by rejecting or suppressing what we'd call negative emotions. Sadness, anger, fear. Those feelings get invalidated or pushed down.
Okay. So it's not just like trying to look on the bright side. It's more like a demand.
Exactly. The sources describe it as this pressure. You must stay positive no matter how tough things are. And if you don't, you're somehow failing or doing it wrong.
That example they gave was pretty stark, telling someone in real distress to just stay positive or don't be negative. Yep. It feels, really dismissive.
It does. And, the sources point out this isn't just one-on-one. It's huge on social media, right? People using it to manage their image.
Oh, yeah. The highlight reel effect.
Totally. Showing only the good stuff, hiding the struggles.
And the fundamental problem, the sources seem to argue, is that this stops people from actually dealing with real issues, real feelings.
Yeah.
Which, they say that can really mess with your psychological health.
And that leads us right into the harms, the potential downsides that the research you provided highlights. They build a case that, this forced kind of positivity can actually be damaging.
And the reason why it seems to circle back to that suppression thing we just talked about, pushing down genuine feelings.
That's the core of it. Multiple sources mention studies showing that when you suppress emotions, they don't just vanish. They can bubble up as anxiety or shame, and even contribute to longer-term mental health problems.
There was that one study, I think, from the New Scientist source that really stood out to me about positive self-affirmations.
Oh, right. The I am lovable type statements.
Yeah. And for people who already had low self-esteem, saying those things actually made them feel worse.
Because it felt fake to them. It wasn't authentic. It shows that just plastering on positivity doesn't work if you don't genuinely feel it deep down. It can even backfire.
Exactly. And then there was that other research mentioned from the British Psychological Society referencing June Gruber's work. That was really surprising.
The idea that extreme happiness isn't always good.
Yeah, that it can link to things like lower creativity or taking more risks, maybe even susceptibility to mania. It's not just about ignoring sadness. It seems like too much unchecked optimism could actually, blind you to real dangers.
It's a really counterintuitive finding, isn't it? That even happiness has potential pitfalls if it's excessive or disconnected from reality.
And again, the social media angle popped up in another study, Oxford academic, I think, linking that pressure to perform positivity online, hiding the negative stuff, directly to hits on self-esteem and emotional health.
And this isn't just a theoretical discussion. One of the sources, Forbes, citing Science of People, had some actual numbers. They found, 67.8% of people they surveyed.
Almost 68%.
Yeah. Said they'd experienced the effects of toxic positivity in just the past week.
Wow. Okay, so nearly 7 out of 10 people.
Yeah.
That really drives home that this isn't some niche academic concept. It's something a lot of us are probably bumping up against, maybe without even naming it.
Right. You might have felt that pressure to just cheer up when you were really struggling, or maybe even felt guilty yourself for, having a perfectly normal bad day. The sources suggest it's very common.
Okay, but we need to pause here because it's super important. And all your sources stress that this isn't about bashing positivity altogether.
Absolutely not. That's a crucial distinction. The sources are very clear. Healthy, moderate, positive thinking has real documented benefits, mental and physical. We need to look at that flip side.
And the evidence they cite is pretty compelling, like the Johns Hopkins medicine material, the Lisa Yannick research on heart health.
Yeah, that was significant.
Linking positive thinking to a lower risk of heart attack, cardiovascular events. I mean, a 33% reduction for people with family history who are positive thinkers, and 13% for the general population thinking positively. That's a big deal physically.
It really is. And it's not just about the heart. Sources from the Mayo Clinic point out how positive thinking helps manage stress, increases life satisfaction, improves overall well-being. It builds resilience.
And that NIH News and Health piece added another layer, how positive emotions can actually broaden your focus, help you grow, make you better equipped to handle challenges when they do come up.
Right. So it's not just about feeling good. It helps you function better, too.
So the picture emerging is, hope, focusing on solutions, having a generally positive outlook that is good for you. But, and this is the key takeaway from the sources that has to be balanced, authentic. It can't mean ignoring reality or pretending difficult feelings don't exist.
So putting it all together, the message from these sources really seems to be about finding that balance, right? Accepting that, sometimes things are tough, sometimes you feel bad, and that's okay.
While also holding on to hope where it's realistic and healthy.
Exactly that. The sources argue both ends of the spectrum are unhelpful. The rigid, forced, always be happy thing, toxic positivity is bad. But so is completely giving up on any kind of positive outlook.
And it's obviously not simple, finding that balance, which is probably why, as the sources point out, this is such a big topic of discussion right now.
Yeah, the Washington Post source mentioned search trends for toxic positivity climbing since 2019. People are clearly thinking about this, wrestling with it.
And the sources even touched on the debates playing out online, like on X, right?
They did. You see people criticizing toxic positivity because it makes them feel alone or flawed when they're struggling. Those comments like, well, at least, or everything happens for a reason.
Yeah. Those can feel really invalidating.
Right. Lacking empathy. And it can even make you doubt if other people's happiness is real because maybe they're just performing too.
That's such an interesting side effect, the erosion of perceived authenticity.
Yeah.
But the sources also included the counterarguments, didn't they?
Yeah, suggesting that maybe sometimes helpful coping strategies get unfairly labeled toxic. Yeah. And also noting that the pendulum can swing too far the other way, where online culture sometimes encourages constant negativity, which isn't productive either.
So it's complicated. Navigating it seems to come down to, as the sources suggest, just making space for all emotions. The good, the bad, the messy. Acknowledging they're all part of the human experience.
Which leads us nicely into some practical advice based on what the sources recommended.
Okay, so boiling it down. Rejecting negative feelings via toxic positivity. Potentially harmful. But cultivating a balanced, hopeful, yet realistic, positive outlook, beneficial.
Exactly. So how do we put that into practice? Well, one clear recommendation from the sources is about how we support other people.
Right, instead of the knee-jerk, stay positive.
Yeah, instead of that, which can shut someone down, the sources suggest leading with empathy. Say something like, wow, that sounds really hard, I hear you. Or, I understand you're feeling so hungry, scared, I'm here with you. Validate the feeling first.
That makes sense. Acknowledge the reality before trying to shift perspective.
Precisely. And then applying it to ourselves. The sources basically say, ease up on the pressure to always project perfection, especially online.
Give yourself permission to not be okay sometimes.
Exactly. Allow space for the difficult stuff. The sources strongly imply that embracing the full spectrum of your emotions authentically is actually the healthier path in the long run. It's okay to struggle, and maybe even more importantly, it's okay to show that you're struggling sometimes.
So, reflecting on this deep dive into the sources you sent, we've seen how they define toxic positivity. That pressure to only be positive, pushing down anything negative.
And we looked at the harms they documented, anxiety, shame, maybe even clouded judgment leading to riskier behavior. And that striking statistic, almost 70% of people feeling its effects recently.
But we also saw the vital flip side. The clear evidence-backed benefits of healthy, balanced, positive thinking for our minds and bodies. Hope is powerful when it's real.
Yeah, the sources make it clear positivity isn't the enemy. It's the compulsive rejection of negativity that's problematic.
And the core message seems to be finding that balance, allowing vulnerability, accepting all our feelings while still nurturing hope.
Which brings us to a final thought to leave you with.
Okay.
Given that data, that so many people, nearly 7 out of 10 in that one study, feel the pressure of toxic positivity, and given the clear benefits the sources identify when we allow ourselves and others to experience genuine emotions, even difficult ones, alongside hope, what kind of impact could it have, on our relationships, our communities, our overall well-being if we collectively got better at accepting vulnerability? If we made more space for the tough stuff alongside the good?
That's definitely something to think about.
Seriously, thanks for sending these snippets in. Keep them coming. Any articles, notes, texts, if they make you think, send them our way. We love figuring this stuff out with you.
And hey, if you enjoyed this deep dive, please subscribe to Sip and Talk. Oh, and speaking of things to check out, go find our old friend Micky's YouTube channel. Seriously, that guy is hilarious. Mickey, always up to something.